In our New York studio, and Tal, interesting certainly seeing John Bolton there in Moscow face-to-face with Vladimir Putin. What do we know more about what was on their agenda today?
Well, the main reason for John Bolton's visit to Russia, Kalev, as we know, is to finalize the details and start laying the groundwork for a potential planned meeting between President Vladimir Putin and President Trump. What we know from Russian news agencies is that President Putin told Bolton behind closed doors that the American-Russian relations right now is in a pretty bad shape, and Putin reiterated his previous statement saying that he believes that that is by large part due to America's own political struggles domestically, referring, of course, to the Russian meddling in the 2016 elections investigation. Now, as for the potential meeting, as far as we know, the official announcement of the summit will be made jointly by Moscow and Washington tomorrow. On Thursday, the date is supposed to be somewhere around mid-July. Putin is operating on a pretty tight schedule because his country, as we know, is hosting the World Cup at the moment, and the final is set to take place on July 15th. And President Trump, he also has a trip planned to Europe. First, he will go to Brussels, where he will meet with NATO leaders, and then from there he's supposed to go to the UK for a working visit. So the summit has to take place around Trump's visit to Europe, and the location is supposed to be a third country. From reports, we know that a leading location has been named Helsinki, Finland.
All right. Well, we already knew that they were laying the groundwork at that meeting between John Bolton and Vladimir Putin. I think that the timing, how quickly this came about, that planned summit, is a surprise to many. There is, of course, some political risk, Tal, in meeting Putin face-to-face.
Right, and Reed, many political risks for President Trump, both domestically and internationally, but the president, he's ready to take the risk, I think. He makes his own considerations, as we know, on foreign policy. First, let's start with domestically. Well, you put Russia and Trump in the same sentence, and you usually get heavily criticized here in the United States from all kinds of fronts, and then usually the president, he tends to fend off any kind of such criticism using two words on Twitter, and that is witch hunt. But on the international level, I think the challenge, or the risk as you call it, is a bit more complicated, coming both from NATO members that already expressed concerns over the meeting of Putin and Trump. Because think about it, if Trump expresses a conciliatory tone towards Russia when he meets with President Putin, and then he goes, or before he meets with NATO members and he takes a tough stance on them, or clashes with U.S. allies, then he will have a serious problems. Of course, Trump will maybe he could also break with European stance against Russia and its destabilizing military activities in Syria and also in Ukraine.
Well, certainly anything is possible. That much we have learned. Tal Heinrich in New York.